Hi, I'm back, and welcome to Floor Talks with Jazz. We are currently on my floor. So, I busted out the binder. We're gonna have a little chat today. So, we have a lot to talk about. COVID happened. I did that video on COVID and maladaptive daydreaming and how this might affect us all. I was actually pretty surprised by most people saying that COVID had increased their daydreaming. Originally, I thought it would decrease because most people would be at home with their families. And then I realized not everybody has a pitch perfect family. It's not just me who lives alone. And my daydreaming did definitely increase. I went through an extremely depressive episode between 2020 and 2022 mostly. I was like moving around a lot. I ended up in multiple very mentally draining and abusive places that took away a lot of my mental health and made me, seek for validation in a lot of places and other people in my daydreams. And TikTok. But TikTok hates me now, so fuck you, TikTok. If for all of you that are new, my name's Jazz, DJ. I am non-binary. My pronouns are he, they. I don't know if I fully came out. I mean, I've always struggled with just being trans, like, my whole life, but that's a whole other can of worms for another day. Also, whoever came to my job yesterday and called me ma'am super loud, even though I have a mustache, fuck you. Fuck you, dude. Alright, I brought out the binder. Here's what we're talking about today. Hope you guys are ready for my opener. I wrote it myself. First, I want to talk about the rise of substance abuse and how it affected... First thing I wanted to talk about, I have a couple things on today's list. Some of them are more about me and like a life update, and other things are just more general about maladaptive daydreaming. First thing I wanted to talk about is the rise of substance abuse and decline of storytelling in daydreams. For me, I was able to get my hands on alcohol and weed and most drugs at a very young age. But then after 18, I started drinking and smoking a lot, very regularly, which was not good for me, who was just leaving the foster care program for the first time and had no idea how the real world worked. So drowning myself in substances was a good way for me to not be scared, even though I was in a very scary situation. As the time went on, I noticed that like the long 3-hour talks I'd have with my paras, like the really important messages that were underlying in my story, at least the parts that I thought made it so great, the dialogue like just started disappearing. And it was traumatizing to watch happen because I couldn't stop. And like scenes that would be very long with a lot of context started turning into like just smaller edits of songs. Like I had one half of my brain that like music videos and I had the other half that like the actual story. And when I started, smoking a bowl every 15 minutes alone by myself all day because Publix wouldn't give me hours, because fuck you, Publix. I'm very angsty today. I chose violence today, guys. The music part of my brain just started overtaking it. And now when I try to daydream, it's much harder to try to get that connection without having this like super weird, like seeing myself feeling. Like I'm too self-aware when I daydream, sober now. So don't be like me, guys. I'm your test dummy. I don't have other daydreams. I know a lot of people have multiple different paracosms they switch between, and I used to have multiple different paracosms. But again, between COVID and the age of 18 and almost 22 now, I changed a lot. Like, I changed a lot of shit. Like, Aiden's shitty ex-boyfriend, like, when I was 17, Aiden's one of my pairs, if you know, when I was, like, 17 to 18 was the last time I remember actively daydreaming about him being there, being the asshole in the story. And I feel like a lot of the dialogue actually came from that, from this really terrible dynamic and really traumatizing situations. And I realized that I love my daydreams, I love my Paris. It's not something I just want to forget about or just like remember as a faint memory, but I don't want to curse myself with needing this terrible, awful character, which I feel bad saying that because he's just as real as Aiden is, but like he deserved to be in prison, not just like having his like character just reappear and like the scenarios I'd like to repeat. When I was more mentally unwell, I like to daydream about the fighting a lot. That's not something I do very much now, unless it's X just kicking someone's ass. But it's much better. It's much better. Second story. That was the first little tidbit. My personal relationship with my parents and how that's changed. Okay. So between like 18 and 20, when I was mostly living by myself, I had one best friend that lived four hours away, and then I had my ex who also lived quite a while away, and I was living in this strange place of Pembroke Pines. And you know you know what they say about South Florida. You know, it's not very easy to make friends just off the street. So I mostly just ended up isolating myself from everyone and anyone while I stayed home crying every day, and trying to daydream to make myself feel better and watch YouTube all day. But watching YouTube all day isn't new for me. That's just a part of my life. So during that time, I ran to my parents a lot, and it was also one of the times I needed them like most in my adult life, but also one of the last times that I really had that much control because I hadn't been drinking or smoking very long before that. So I wonder if any of you have had experiences with that. I had needed them very emotionally, and for the first time ever, I started including myself in my daydreams, which I think is a bad sign for me because I don't like being in my daydreams. I think that, like, all right. Last thing I need is to accidentally imagine like Dalen or Aiden misgendering me, because everyone does that to me because I don't take tea yet. This is mascara. But obviously they wouldn't on purpose, but like during that time, I like just let go of all those like fears of why I don't want to be in my daydreams and just let myself like be in bed with Aiden and Dalen at night because I was so fucking depressed. I literally had no one to talk to. Even like my stepmom, who's like one of the closest people to me, was so close, but we couldn't see each other because of COVID. And I hadn't lived that close to her in a very long time, and that like just all of that was just really hard for me, and I like only had myself and bad decisions. You might have catched me on live back then. How you doing? All right, next topic. How depressive phases sorry. How during depressive phases it's harder to express with talent and harder to escape the hole of stuck daydreaming. So that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. So during those like really long depressive phases, I entered this hole that I'm calling stuck daydreaming. So it's where there's only a few amount of scenes and parts of my daydream I can really conjure up or be motivated, I guess, enough to daydream about. So at that time, like, I'd say between like maybe like January to like that whole year, I was mostly just daydreaming about the same set of scenarios without the shitty ex-boyfriend, but with Aiden and Dalen. And I entered this hole of this is all I want to think about, and I will spend my 4 hours daydreaming about this one specific scenario, like hyperfixating on it, because I don't have the motivation or I feel like I don't have the strength or willpower to think of literally anything else. So for me, my stuck daydream was just Aiden making a video where he's talking very in depth about a lot of the shit that he's been through with his ex and being homeless and running away from home and just a bunch of shit that led up. And I would just daydream about making that one video that Aiden made for 4 hours a day. This is why I'm glad my community is all maladaptive daydreamers, because I feel like most people who don't would not get it. They'd be like, maybe try medication? This is another one about just personally me. It's about my lack of electronics and resulting in me giving up my dreams. So I grew up with PewDiePie, man. I grew up with PewDiePie, Smosh, and Shane Dawson. I am getting a PewDiePie tattoo and probably a Smosh tattoo. I also got tattoos. I started getting tattoos. Oh yeah, I'm grown. And I'm very glad I didn't make that decision beforehand, because there was a couple of other YouTubers on that list that, So, back to my dreams as a child. Growing up in a not so great home and seeing someone like PewDiePie or Smosh that make me laugh every day and being something that I can hyperfixate on, obviously led me to wanting to make videos for a living my whole life. I subscribed to PewDiePie when I was 11. I'm turning 22. But you know what they say. Can't have shit in Florida, so my iPhone, I'll show it to you. This little baby. Microphone broke. Camera broke. Screen broke. Just everything broke. Battery's terrible. There was like no storage, even though it had plenty of storage. So there was just no way I could fucking record. And I wasn't gonna do it on my laptop because I have some videos. Go through my channel and see if you can find some videos that I did on my laptop. They're terrible. But I have this lovely new iPhone that also has really annoying updates. But camera quality though? You can tell I'm going places in the world. I have a TV in my room. What the fuck? Which is why I'm back. But I wanted to add that in just to tell you another reason. The next topic here is a general one. It's how even with the knowledge of daydreaming, the struggle and addiction can be too real. So for me, since I was a kid, wanted to make a video about the fact that I daydream, or wanted to have a channel about the fact that I daydream. I remember being like 13, being like, I know there's other people who have to do this, and I want to make YouTube videos for those people, and I was super excited about it, and now I'm doing it anyways. But even with all the knowledge that I gathered about maladaptive daydreaming after I discovered what it was, all the tips and tricks that I gathered along the way to keep daydreaming from ruining my life and keeping it short, and I totally stopped myself from daydreaming 6 hours a day like I used to 3 to 4, and I always do it after work or when I have nothing to do, or I try to. And I'm actually getting much better about daydreaming at work, and I really only daydream at work if I'm on dish pit or if we're closed and I'm just cleaning. But even with all the knowledge of how to keep it down, keep it away, and make it not toxic, it can still be pretty hard to balance it healthily. I've never thought this, and I probably never will. I like to put money on the fact that I won't think that anybody should ever get rid of their daydreams if they don't want to, unless it's something really daunting that's fucking with their mental health. And I have gotten some DMs about people who were wondering if I think their daydreams are toxic, and I've been like, ooh, girly pop. That's not the right thing to hyperfixate about. So there's always going to be like a balance. There's a balance in everything. And for me, even with all the knowledge of how to keep it down and away and safe, and after I took out all the negative characters and bad scenarios that were making me not okay, like obsessively not okay inside, it can still fucking suck. Because still, like today, if I get in an Uber and my Uber is like talking to me the whole time, like I'm clearly not wanting to be in a conversation, and like let's say like I wasn't able to daydream last night because I had an open to close shift, and then I get in this Uber and they won't stop talking to me because they want to hit on me or something, and I'm just like, huh, yeah, okay, huh, yeah, thank you, huh, yeah, I have my headphones in, sorry if I can't hear you. Oh yeah, but we just okay. And then I go into work angry. That literally happens to me. Like, I definitely see myself as a very healthy individual. Like, I'm being promoted to manager at my job. And I still struggle with those things. And lastly, my disappointment with lack of uploading resulted in more dream hiding. Yes, that is something that happened. I was so fucking disappointed that I wasn't able to make a video, and I felt like I was losing everybody who ever like cared about me online, which is a really weird thing. I don't really think I care as much as I did back then, but I think it's just the stress of knowing it's something you really want to do, but you're not doing it. Like, I couldn't upload because all my electronics were shitty, so I just stopped writing scripts, and I just stopped doing all the things that made me proud of myself when I would. I like having hobbies that I excel at. Like when I stopped writing scripts for YouTube videos, I stopped drawing, I stopped painting, I stopped making music. I mean, it was easy to just do a little like, you say you're not really the head of the show, but are you really the show? That's easy. It's easy to make TikToks. But apparently not easy to stay on it. And that's all for today, guys. I guess the last thing I'd want to talk about is two things. The first thing I want to talk about, the dreams I've had. Definitely the dreams I've had with my bears, because I've had a couple more, and I'm just so curious if anybody else has had dreams about their paras, because I recently had a dream and Dalen was there. And if you know about my channel, you might know that Dalen is kind of my parame's boyfriend. Except he's not my parame, he's a para, but he's the one that I am in the point of view of. So, my main para. And I had a dream that I was myself, but I didn't know it. And I was walking around with Dalen and we were holding hands, and I was like attached to his arm, and I was like, we were driving around, we went to a gas station, and I was just telling everyone. I was so excited. I'm always so excited when I see my paras in my dreams, and I never know why, but I'm so nervous and excited that I can't. So I was just like, this is my boyfriend. This is my boyfriend. And then I looked in a mirror and I was like, wait, something's not right. And I woke up. I have another video talking about some of the dreams I've had with my paras, which can be pretty crazy. Like, I wake up and I'm like, no, it's a daydreamer's dream. The other thing I wanted to say was, I'm really, really happy to be here, and I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to be doing a hobby that I can excel in. I know this video is a little bit choppy today, but that's only because I'm working a 43-hour week. And my manager likes to kidnap me and hang out with me some of my days off. And then I have to split that time between my family and my job and friends. But this is a priority for me. I told her, you cannot hang out with me today. I have a video to make. Bye. Drink water. Safe daydreaming.